Hi everyone, this is Group T from MRK460 SCC, and today we are talking about the impact of COVID-19 on the aviation industry. First of all, let's see how COVID-19 impact in airline industry globally. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant influence on the airline industry. Airlines have been forced to ground places, cancel flights, and in some circumstances declare bankruptcy. This year, IATA predicts a revenue loss of $113 billion. This is a 34% increase over the $83 billion lost by the sector in 2018. The COVID-19 impact on world scheduled passenger traffic for the year 2020 compared to 2019 levels. Overall reduction of 50% of seats offered by airline, overall reduction of 2,703 million passengers, same as 60% decrease. Approximately $372 billion loss of gross passenger operating revenue of airline. The COVID-19 impact on world scheduled passenger traffic for the year 2021 compared to 2019 levels. Overall reduction of 40% of seats offered by airline, and overall reduction of 2,201 million passengers. Approximately $324 billion loss of gross passengers operating revenue of airlines. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant effect on the airline industry. One of the hardest challenges for airline business is that people are afraid to travel. The COVID-19 pandemic has sparked widespread fear and anxiety, and many individuals are choosing to stay at home rather than fly. This has resulted in a dramatic reduction in aviation travel. Global passenger traffic was down 6.5% in the first quarter of 2020 compared to the same time in 2019. Airlines are also facing increased costs as a result of the pandemic. They've had to ground planes, cancel flights, and in some circumstances pay employees who are no longer working. In 2021 to 2022, the aviation industry is improving. The COVID-19 is gradually getting under control and people are regaining confidence in flying. The airline industry, however, will continue to face significant challenges. Airlines will need to discover methods to encourage customers to return to their flights, as well as a way to save expenses. In 2022, the IATA expects global passenger demand to reach 61% of pre-crisis levels, but it must be noted that this forecast was made in October 2021, where pre-Omicron, so unexpected COVID situation is still ongoing for airline industry. Move on to the next. Let's look at the effect of COVID-19 in the aviation industry by country. First country is Canada. According to Statistics Canada, in April 2020, the passengers load factor fell to a historic low of 26% and remained below 50% for the rest of the year. Total revenue fell down almost 91% from December 2019 on April 2020, and this recovered to 64% in December 2021. One of Canada's main airline companies, Air Canada, also showed similar data. The catastrophic impact of COVID-19 and government-imposed travel restrictions and quarantines has been felt across entire networking, deeply affecting all of its stakeholders. It has resulted in a 73% decline in passengers carried at Air Canada during the year. Capacity in 2020 was reduced by 67% in 2020 compared to 2019 and an operating loss of nearly $3.8 billion. Total revenue of $5.8 billion in 2020 declined to $13.29 billion or 70% from 2019. Full year 2021 operating revenues of $6.4 billion compared to 2020 operating revenue of $5.8 billion. Air Canada's cost-saving measures as it works to survive the pandemic include reducing staff by more than 20,000, dismantling a global network 10 years in the making, suspending service to many communities, and aggressively cutting fixed costs. As the company moved into 2021, while uncertainty remained as a result of the new variants of the virus and changing travel restrictions, the promise of new testing capabilities and vaccine is encouraging and presents some light at the end of the tunnel.
So now we're going to talk about how COVID-19 impacted the Brazilian aviation. Data from FlightRadar 24 showed that between March 7 and April 7, air traffic dropped by 64.86%. In South America, it was even worse, showing a reduction of 80% for the same period. Ian Pachenik, the communication director of FlightRadar 24, said that the situation was comparable to 2002 and 2003 when the industry was still shaken by the 9/11 terrorist attack. In Brazil, the weekly supply of domestic flights has plummeted from 14,781 to just 1,241 since the end of March, a drop of almost 90%. It is estimated that the cost of airlines during this period reached 45 million reais per day, which is approximately $9 million. Even now, in February 2022, we are still below pre-pandemic levels. In 2021, it had recovered around 52%, and it's estimated that in 2022, we will recover around 88%, and that in 2023, it will recover fully compared to 2019. This recovery will only be possible to the domestic flights, which are very high levels, unlike international flights, which are still at great low due to limited access at borders, mandatory quarantine periods, etc. And now on Indian aviation. The COVID-19 issue impacted negatively on airport traffic or aviation business on a scale never seen before. Airlines incurred heavy losses, which resulted to lay off employees from the airlines, cut their salaries, difficulties in bearing the expense and loss, etc. All scheduled international and domestic passenger flights were canceled in the middle of May when the virus spread across the country. The effect of this disruption can be gauged by the loss figures of India's two largest airlines. Indigo incurred net losses of 2,884 crore and 1,194 crore in quarter 1 and 2 of this fiscal, respectively. SpiceJet posted net losses of 600 crore and 112 crore in quarters 1 and 2, respectively. The government still tried to do the best. Meanwhile, the government has allowed special international passenger flights under the Vande Bharat mission since May. An air bubble agreement with roughly 24 nations have been created since July, which helps many international people in the pandemic period. Indian airlines and airports incurred an estimated loss of 19,564 crore and 5,116 crore, respectively, in 2020 and 2021 due to severe disruption accused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Royal Minister of State for Civil Aviation V.K. Singh in his written reply to a question in the Rajya Sabha on Monday. It's clear the aviation sector has incurred heavy amount of losses during the outbreak of COVID-19. As per research, 60% of the revenue of Air India has been generated through international operations, which has been damaged and impacted negatively the business. To render the pandemic-actuated emergency, all carriers went to cost-cutting lanes like firings or pay cuts in 2020. In April, Go Air sent most of its workers on leave without pay. Air India had in April cut the pay rates of its workers by 10%. It is expected that India's domestic service to reach their pre-COVID levels by March 2021, which was not totally but some relief to the India's aviation sector. Nonetheless, after a new and more irresistible COVID strain arose in the UK as of late, India declared on December 21 that all traveler flights associating the nation will be suspended from December 23 to December 31. It shows how continuously this pandemic has been impacting the aviation sectors of the business. To conclude, the epidemic of COVID-19 has had a huge impact on the airline sector. Planes have been forced to be grounded, flights have been canceled, As an overall analysis, considering the previously mentioned facts, situations of major loss and even bankruptcy have been observed in certain cases. This all has happened because of the rules and regulations imposed to curb the spread of the pandemic, as well as travelers themselves dropping the idea of traveling during this time, which is also one of the major reasons behind the shutdown of airlines. However, if we consider current circumstances, the situation of COVID-19 has been getting under control. Air Canada has resumed its international flights and is the perfect example and proof of this statement. People are not afraid anymore. In fact, they agree to all the safety measures while flying. This has started pushing the airline industry, where airlines will have to figure out how to get more consumers to return to their flights while also cutting costs. Moreover, we believe that Omicron is the future concern for airlines, which should not be neglected, and companies should do prior planning to deal with it and avoid suffering major losses. Thank you.